Hello everybody. How you guys doing? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's going on? This will be somewhat of a quick stream tonight. Trying to get into the habit of streaming more often. Beat that YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. So welcome. And tonight we're going to be talking again about Kanye West for a little bit, and then we're going to make fun of conservatives in general. Because it's in the news, number one, and number two, it's a good example of what happens when the wrong voices are platformed, I think. Right. And also because, we're all sort of seeing this slow motion train wreck, which is the artist formerly known as Kanye West. His name is Ye now. Because he's insane and everything, and thinks he's on the same, Yee, what the fuck? Like, it's fucking dumb, but whatever. I'm not here to make fun of the man's name. I'm here to criticize his anti-Semitic comments. Because, as you've seen, from our last stream, and I'm sure you're well aware, we talked about it last week also, but yeah, Kanye West is kind of losing everything because he won't back off from the anti-Semitism, And we thought it was pretty bad. The stuff he said last week was pretty bad, and he's just sort of dug his hole a lot deeper, Here's one thing that I came across recently. I thought this was funny. Let me just open up my thing here. And let's make this bigger. So, before we, here. Let me just show you. This is Kanye talking about his deal with Adidas.
The thing about it, me and Adidas, is like, I could literally say anti-Semitic shit and they can't drop me. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what?
Breaking news this morning. Adidas confirming it is ending its lucrative partnership with Kanye West.
Whoops. Should have thought about that one, Mr. Ye. Right? Yeah. Nobody is above cancellation. And if let's be honest here, he kind of deserves it. See, because this wasn't just him saying a couple of anti-Semitic comments and then apologizing or something. Not only did he double down on it, but he's been going on for weeks. And he's kind of degenerated into, it's not just, the offhand, comment here or there. He's doubling down on this Jewish question shit is what it is. It's the JQ. He's basically saying the exact same shit that Nazis say, right? So anyway, we're almost done with it. Let's take a look at what we're working on before we go any further. We have our hideous evil demon guy. All we have left is the flail here that we need to finish up. So then we'll start something new. And I've been kind of avoiding this because drawing this chain with a tablet is a pain in the ass, but I guess we got to do it, so let's focus on this for now. So anyway, why am I talking so much about this, right? Why am I spending 2 streams talking about Kanye West? Because like I said last time, I couldn't name a Kanye West song if you paid me. I really could not. I couldn't name the name of one of his songs. I'm sure I've heard one. Right, but I am not a fan of this guy. Number one. Number two, I barely know who he is. I know he was married to Kim Kardashian. Of course, I've learned more about him in the last 2 weeks than I would care to know, just because of all of his, anti-Semitic shenanigans that are going on here. But why am I talking about him so much? It's because it's important. It's important when people with large platforms abuse their power, is what it is. Somebody like me, I mean, I make a video. I'm lucky if 100 people watch my video. I consider that a success. It's like, oh shit, I broke 100, right? Because most videos on YouTube don't get over 100 views, right? So every once in a while, I'll make a video that gets 3, 4, 500 views, even a couple thousand, and I'll be ecstatic over that. Kanye West can go on, he can make a phone call and get on any TV show in the country and get millions of viewers watching him. And not only that, the guy has millions upon millions of followers on his social media, the ones that haven't kicked him, right? Has Twitter kicked Kanye? I think they have. The ones that haven't kicked him, he's got, millions and millions of followers because the guy's rich and famous and he has fans. Well, part of that, it comes with responsibility, right? When you have huge platforms like this, when you have the attention of millions of people, right? You should be held to a higher standard for that. Kind of the same way, I don't know when we as a society stopped doing this. You know what I mean? Like, kind of the same reason why I think Elon Musk is a piece of shit. Because, he's a vindictive giant man baby who uses his money and power to basically fucking stroke his own ego, And we should hold people that we give the that have that kind of power, that have billions of dollars and the keys to industry. We should hold them to a higher standard. Why? Because their actions affect hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Like it or not, Kanye West, is directly responsible for the well-being of probably millions of people, at least thousands. At least it'll impact thousands. If, for example, when he puts out a record, or if he creates a clothing line, right? Like it or not, that's just how our society is. Our society is set up so that we concentrate this type of power into the hands of the few, And Kanye West doing something stupid, making a dumbass remark, or being a bigot, he can unfairly influence millions and millions of people like that, right? Which is exactly what we see happening. Here's something that we just saw here that this made the rounds on Reddit, right? Let me just go ahead and open this up for you guys. And before we go to this, let me just copy the link and put this down in the chat for y'all. Hey, somebody is watching. All right. Thank you, whoever you are that's watching out there. Appreciate it. This is what we're about to look at next. Let me open this up here. This is a Reddit post from Our Conservative, and I chose Our Conservative, right, because, here we go. See that? Anti-Semitic flyers found in Jewish neighborhoods in LA, right? Kanye is right banner hung over 405 freeway in LA adds to rising anti-Semitism fears. Okay. Here we go. Kanye is right about the Jews. And you see these people here giving a sig heil out here. This guy giving a sig heil to people on the freeway. The 405, by the way, if you guys don't know, is in Los Angeles, it's the Santa Monica freeway. It goes straight through the heart of LA, through Santa Monica up into the valley. I take it all the time, right? It's busy as hell. It goes by the Los Angeles airport, LAX, and usually throughout the day is bumper to bumper, just at a crawl, right? So, busy as hell freeway. And Los Angeles, if you guys didn't know, is 50% Latino, right? White people are a minority in Los Angeles. It is actually, the people of Latino descent are the largest demographic here. So it may surprise people to think, because when you think Los Angeles, you think a liberal city. You don't think that it's a hotbed for white supremacy and anti-Semitism, right? Lo and behold, here we go. All it took was a little bit of cajoling from a famous person who's not even white for the white supremacists to come out of the woodwork. Because, they'll take the allies where they can get them. Right? And I wanted to show this from Reddit here, because let's go back to, so this is the conservative, right, subreddit here, because it's interesting to get the reactions of what conservatives say when something like this happens, because this makes conservatives look bad, when you have Nazis hanging out on the freeway. So I wanted to put that down in the chat for you guys to go through later. Seems like there actually is a little bit of pushback from some of these people, but there were a couple of a couple of golden comments here that I wanted to pull up. Here's one. They sure look like feds. Probably are. Of course, because that's one thing that you get from conservative-minded people is that everybody who's their enemy is usually in on the conspiracy, and obviously no normal ordinary white supremacist would go out and hold a sign like this, so it must be a false flag. It must be it must be the FBI or some shit trying to make the good, hardworking, moral, upstanding Nazis look bad. So I thought that shit was funny. I didn't look at this comment. What does this comment say? Oh yeah, here was one. This is one here. This one also got me, right? What does that got to do with anything? You think these guys calling out Jewish power are somehow supported by the FBI? The guy I replied to said these guys were feds, so I asked him if they should be supporting their local Republicans instead. As if that's going to change anything. The FBI is made up of anti-white scum, just like both political parties. It's funny how, all you have to do is look at the comment section on any given political forum or subreddit that's run by conservatives, or even a video that's put up by conservatives. Like, just go to say your average Steven Crowder video and go down in the comments, and you don't have to search very far to find the fascists. They're always there, right under the surface. They're always, it just seems how, it's just really funny how, like, conservatives, conservatism leads directly to fascism. And you can't say the same about the left. It's not like all paths of political thought on the left lead to communism. It's like, no, it goes off in different directions. I mean, if there's one thing we've seen about leftists is that they're like cats, trying to organize them as impossible, and that's kind of the reason why the left always eats itself at the end, because if you guys don't know this, different flavors of leftists hate each other more than they hate, like, conservatives. More than they hate fascists. There are people out there that think that I'm like a bigger villain than somebody like, say, Steven Crowder, because I'm not like a communist, like I'm like a pretender and shit, and I'm like, somehow somebody like me is like a bigger, like, does more damage to the cause than an out and out fascist. And it's like, this is why we keep losing elections, folks. This is why your workers' paradise is never going to actually come to fruition, because you guys don't know how to fucking work together. But anyway, but it's kind of different. On the right, it's like all roads lead to fascism. Right? And each little step, you have people who are minarchists and people who are, like, monarchists, and then you have people who are fucking libertarians and, syndicalists and all this other shit. All of them are they're just little stops, little bus stops on the way to fascism Grand Central. It's just funny how that shit happens. Here's another one I thought was funny. Another comment, I guarantee this is a false flag by Democrats. Just like I was saying before, if you're not, that's the primo conspiracy theory thinking right there. If you're not one of us, then you're, if you're not with us, you're against us. if you don't believe in what we say 100%, if you question in any way whatsoever, then you're automatically with the bad guys. One thing you notice if you ever go and argue with conspiracy theorists is the first thing they'll say, they'll call you a shill. You know, the shill gambit fallacy. You know, who's paying you to say this? You know, if you question them, if you ask them for some proof or something like that, or names, or ask for receipts in any way whatsoever, you'll be accused of being part of the conspiracy. It's like, here you go. I guarantee this is a false flag by Democrats. Yeah, it's the Democrats who went out and, you know, hung these signs and gave Nazi salutes and shit to random strangers on the freeway just to make the good God-fearing Christian conservatives look bad. Get the fuck out of my face. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So I thought, that's why I always like to, I like to check these things and to get a feel for what the average person is saying, you know. Because unfortunately, even though we think these ideas are insane, they are very much not on the fringes anymore. And that's partially due to people like Kanye West and spreading their hate and fear with their platforms, using their platforms to spread hate and fear, excuse me. Right. That's why it's important to talk about this stuff. So it is good to see that there's been a lot of pushback. Here's another picture that I thought was interesting. This is also from Reddit. Let me go ahead and put this down in the chat as well, so you guys can see what's going on here. This is also from Reddit. Let me turn on my window again. The aftermath of Kanye West's anti-Semitic comments. I guess somebody posted this on Twitter first, but anyway, I find all this shit on Reddit. Adidas cut ties with them. No more dumbass shoes. That's good. Balenciaga cut ties. Vogue and Anna Wintour cut ties. I don't know what that is. I think Vogue magazine? Okay. Dropped by his talent agency, CCA. Dropped by his lawyer. Stream sales and airplay plummeted. Good. Fuck him. Restricted from Instagram and Twitter. I hope they ban him permanently, but I guess he's just restricted from now. Stadium shows canceled. Documentary shelved. One other thing I heard about him recently is that he tried apparently to go to Skechers since Adidas dropped him, right? He tried to go to Skechers and just showed up unannounced, and apparently Skechers told him to get bent because the company Skechers is like run by a Jewish family. It's like, well, there you go. You know, your speech has consequences, man. Especially when you're rich and famous. You know what I mean? Like, and it looks like Mr. Kanye West, Mr. Yay, yay. Looks like he's learning that the hard way. And it couldn't have happened to a nicer person. I mean, the thing about him, it's like, okay, we've said before, everybody knows by now that he's, off his meds. That he's bipolar, he's not taking his medicine, blah, 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 right? But at what point do you stop making excuses for the man, right? I mean, I've known several bipolar people myself in the past, and they're not, first off, they weren't like bigots, right? Secondly, they weren't like assholes to people either, And I think just bipolar, it's not his only problem. I think he's also got some megalomania in there. You know what I mean? Like, he's just had so many people tell him that he's a fucking genius for so long that he can't handle it when somebody pushes back. And what do I mean by that? Well, so I found here this interview with Lex
But what
Friedman.
happened?
Quiet. Shut the fuck up. Okay. So I found this interview here with this guy, Lex Friedman, right? It is 2 hours long. We're not going to watch this entire thing because I'm only going to stream for probably an hour tonight, and we're already at like 9:50. So, but this is what we're going to be watching for a little bit. Okay, this is Lex Friedman. I don't even know who Lex Friedman is, but he looks like a pretty cool guy. And let's see here. Let's turn on my window. Let's make this a little smaller so that we can still draw. Nope, wrong thing. There we go. Let's make that smaller so we can draw. Oh, why do I have two of these here? What is that? There we go. I don't know why that was there. Laptop window. That's strange. Anyway, let's make that about that big. Let's make it full screen. So, this is a 2 hour long interview we had with Kanye. He seems like a pretty cool guy, and you can kind of see the sections down here. We're skipping past fashion, we're skipping past... If you look at the Holocaust, that's like an hour. They talk about the Holocaust for an hour here, that's crazy. And we skip past the election and humor, and we're going to go straight to media and anti-Semitism. And, because this is where he starts to actually push back against what Kanye's been saying recently. And for his part, this guy Lex Friedman does his best to get through to him. Okay. So, I want you to pay close attention to Lex Friedman's demeanor and then Kanye's demeanor. And look how Kanye treats this guy, right? This guy who at no point gets mad at him, at no point raises his voice at him. All he does is challenge him. He challenges him and tries to get him to understand that what he's saying is anti-Semitic, and anti-Semitism is bad. That's what Lex Friedman is trying to do here. Lex Friedman's trying to fucking help him, and just keep that in mind as we watch this. All right.
Gotta ask you about parlor and engineering because I'm interested about that.
Dum 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 dum.
Hey man, I'm actually trying to hold it together. You're pretty offensive towards a lot, and
I'm not looking to be offensive. I really want to bring people together and get these sales done.
But the word, 100%, I see your vision.
I'm really looking to bring people together. Yep. Because blaming all of the world's problems on Jews, of course, is bringing people together in his mind. Right? Anyway.
Vision.
How do we do
but
that?
Somebody you care don't say Jewish media and Jewish controlled media.
JM.
Like, man, you sound like
Did you catch
it sounds
that,
too
everybody?
much.
Did you catch that? Right? So he said to him, don't say Jewish controlled media, right? Why? Because that's hurtful. And he's about to try to explain that to him. He's trying to explain to him, don't say that because it sounds like some shit that Nazis would say. What does Kanye West do? He says JM, right? I'll just use a euphemism instead, right? And, the thing is that we are accustomed to euphemisms. This is actually something I saw. I didn't come up with this. I saw this on Vosh, actually. I don't know if you guys ever watch Vosh. A lot of people don't like Vosh, but he did make a really good point in one of his recent streams where we as a society have grown numb to euphemisms about anti-Semitism. We hear it so often from not just people in the media and also famous people and our politicians and conspiracy theorists and shit. We hear it so often, euphemisms for, anti-Semitism, that sometimes it's hard to even tell if somebody actually knows what they're saying, if they actually know if they're being anti-Semitic. Perfect example, globalists. You hear Alex Jones or some conspiracy theorist talking about globalists, or you hear them talking about the New World Order, or you hear them talking about, the bankers, or the Illuminati, or something like that. And it's just become a thing where it's like, like even politicians will say globalists, and without batting an eye, we need to, or the deep state, that's another one. And then you go on, you go on 4chan, or you go on Parlor or Getter or fucking Fapper or Truth fucking whatever, right? And it's like people use these euphemisms interchangeably with fucking straight up bigotry and shit, right? Because that's what they are. They're euphemisms, they're code words, they're weasel like fucking dog whistles. I always mix those up. Weasel words, dog whistles. They're fucking dog whistles, right? What does what did Kanye West just do right there? Instinctually went to a fucking a euphemism, created his own dog whistle. We'll just call it the JM. Or what did he say? Did he say JM for Jewish media? Let's rewind it just a little bit.
I gotta ask you about Parlor and engineering because I'm interested about that.
Dum 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 dum.
Hey man, I'm actually trying to hold it together. You're pretty offensive towards a lot, and
I'm not looking to be offensive. I really want to bring people together and get these
I
sales
know,
done.
but the word, 100%, I see your vision.
How do we do
but
that?
somebody you care, don't say Jewish media and Jewish controlled media.
JM.
Say that? His first reaction is to just like, I'll just use a fucking, dog whistle instead, right? Does that sound like somebody who's insane? Does that sound like somebody who doesn't know what they're saying? Does that sound like a guy whose like mind is like riddled with fucking chemical imbalance? It doesn't really sound like that to me. That sounds like a fucking asshole on fucking Parlor to me, right? That sounds like a fucking douchebag, right? On some fucking douchebag on Reddit, putting triple quotes around all the words. That's what it sounds like to me, right? Sounds to me that Kanye West knows exactly what he's fucking doing there. Now here's the thing. He does, if you were to listen to this entire interview, he definitely does sound like someone who's a little off his rocker, right? Listening to Kanye West talk is sort of like listening to Charles Manson talk. Like, you can follow it if you know what you're looking for, right? He's definitely got a problem, right? But that right there, but no, he also knows exactly what he's trying to say, right? It's not because he's brainwashed. It's not because people are putting ideas in his head. He fucking believes this shit. And that's the scary thing. That's the thing about it, is that he fucking believes it. How many of his fans is he going to convince, right?
Like, man, you sound like it sounds too much like 1930s Nazi Germany that was leading up to the atrocities.
Oh, he would say JM?
Yeah, he was branded JM. That's right. No, it's just the implied.
Yes, they did. They didn't use the word JM, but yes, the Nazis used euphemisms. Globalist bankers and Illuminati and shit like that, right? They definitely did. They used all, because these are tricks that you use in order to dehumanize people. That's what these things are. That's what a euphemism does. Like that. That's what a fucking dog whistle does like that. It dehumanizes people, right? It allows you to think of them as the other, so you don't feel so bad once they're being dragged away on train cars, off to fucking like camps in the middle of the country that you don't have to like, to solve your problem. You give maybe a solution to the problem, like a final solution. Yeah, that's exactly what they're designed to do. So yes, and the fact that does Kanye not know that? I think he fucking knows it. He's not stupid. He's not a genius, but he's not an idiot either. I think he's perfectly capable of understanding bigotry, right? So, yeah, it's kind of like getting more and more clear here.
Like this memeified prejudice towards a group in a way that's going to lead to hate. And I know you don't mean that. I know you have love in your heart. That's what I'm trying to.
You know what's a prejudice towards a group that led to hate? BLM. BLM took a black person,
Okay.
showed his death on camera because, okay, there are examples of us being killed and being killed on camera. But if it was spread on camera, it was done on purpose by the media, because 14, 20 kids get killed in Chicago every week, and it's not spread that much. They, like you said, singled out a person, directed everything on that person,
Okay.
right, as the martyr, and raised the people that hadn't had any. We didn't have our 40 acres and a mule. We didn't have.
All right. You notice how he's just sort of rambling here? So he's saying that BLM, right, Black Lives Matter, is guilty because they popularized the death of George Floyd, and then goes on to say, well, multiple kids die in Chicago all the time. He's from Chicago, right? So that's a good point. That is a good point. Why do we care so much about George Floyd and not everybody else who dies? But how does that make BLM exploit? I mean, is he trying to say that BLM is exploiting George Floyd? Is BLM a hate group, that they're spreading hate? Because that was the question. That was what Lex Friedman said there. You're spreading hate. And then he goes, well, BLM is spreading hate. Well, how the fuck are they spreading? That's kind of how social movements work. Like, he's sort of, first off, he's sort of like saying, okay, if you want to bring attention to the 14 other kids who died in Chicago that he mentioned, right, then you need to spread the message that, the police brutality is killing people, right? That is what BLM was there for, to spread the message of police brutality. And yeah, so they found one guy and they made him a martyr. Well, that's how causes work, because in real life, people don't give a shit about other people. Not really. You hear about death and atrocities all the time from everywhere. People starving in Africa, nobody does shit. People jumping off of buildings in China at the iPhone factory, committing suicide. Has anybody not bought an iPhone because of that? When was the last time that you said, you know what, I want to get this new phone, but I just read about bad working conditions in the factory in China, so I'm not buying that phone? Bullshit. Nobody fucking cares. You buy it anyway. You read about Amazon workers not being able to pee, having to work through fucking, a guy dropping dead on, in the Amazon factory, and they don't even stop the workday. Just everybody keeps working, right? Amazon, fucking making people work through hurricanes. Have any of you stopped using Amazon because of these things? No. Not a significant amount of people. I'm sure there's probably one or two, or maybe even a few thousand who have. Well, that's a drop in the bucket for the millions upon millions of people that use these services every day. So that's the truth. The truth is, no one gives a fuck about other people, right? Until you make it inconvenient for them. Then they care, right? Until you get a movement, and that's what BLM was all about. Getting a movement to force people to care. Doing things like stopping traffic, right? Protesting out there, And then it became, and then let's not forget, BLM also moved on from police brutality and started protesting like fucking, basically fascism, Cops would go out there to shut it all down. Then they just started protesting that. They started protesting the police that would come to shut them down. Because, why? Because it's not illegal to protest in this country. Yeah, some of them get out of hand. I'm not going to say that there wasn't any problems. There weren't things like riots and fires and shit like that, right? But that's what the actual protests were for. It was so that, you know, that's what protests do anyway. They popularize your message. Well, if you want to do something about police brutality, you need to popularize the message. You need to get the message out there. You need to, you know, and it's not exploitive to choose one person to be the figurehead of your cause. You know, that's why it was so important. George Floyd was kind of the perfect figurehead, because it was a perfect example of a death that didn't need to happen, of a guy who wasn't being violent. George Floyd was not being violent. George Floyd was not struggling. He wasn't, you know, he wasn't fucking on drugs trying to swing at the cops or anything like that, you know. And he begged for his life, which made it all the worse when they completely ignored him and didn't treat him like a human being and slowly strangled him to death. And we got the entire thing on camera, right? Spreading that around does not spread hate. I mean, maybe it spreads hatred for the cops, but that's not the same thing as Kanye West making anti-Semitic comments which inspired Nazis. It's not even close to the same fucking thing, right? Kanye West doesn't know that because you know why? Because he's not a genius. He's kind of an idiot. Moving on.
You know, like a lot of things, right? Like that black people have not ever been given. So once we're given just a little bit, like your life matters, right? Then we literally like, oh, okay, now we're being heard, right? But actually the death toll is up. The city where this happened is completely been turned to a war zone. It's actually something like Candace Owens can actually specify this better, but it's like its own city or something. Like they made it not be a part of the actual state. Or
he doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He's talking about the Seattle autonomous zone, you know, CHOP or Chaz or whatever, right? You know, George Floyd was killed in, like, where was George Floyd killed again? It was, wasn't it in Georgia, right? Yeah, where was he? Counterfeit $20 bill. I mean, it was in Minneapolis, right? So, yeah. And then he's talking about the Seattle autonomous zone, and he doesn't even know what the fuck it is. It's like, see, the guy's not a genius. All right, he's very, very. He's like slightly above average Trump voter, if even that. I wouldn't even say he's slightly above it. I'd say he fits right in with your normal average Trump voter. He kind of doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, you know? And this is the guy that has, this is, you know, he has access to millions upon millions of people to spread this shit. It's important to hold people like him accountable for the shit they say, right? Especially when he doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about.
or something that's like DC and stuff. It's like it's like Washington DC now and stuff. Like, and that has to be from a government. You know, that's got higher level agenda written all over it.
Yeah.
Was anybody out there ever actually able to follow what he's saying? What he's saying here? I mean, it has higher level agenda. Whose agenda? What, the Jews? The Jews are behind BLM. That's actually not the first time I've heard that, to be honest. That is a big conspiracy theory as well. If you guys aren't there or who aren't aware, the conspiracy is that all of the immigration is controlled by Jewish people, right? All of the elevating minorities and black people and stuff like that is also controlled by Jewish people as a part of a way of enacting white genocide, is what it is. That's the conspiracy theory, and he's kind of fallen in for it. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, they're using the death of an individual. Yeah, sure. The media are. Not the Jewish media, the media. The media is fucked up. That machine.
The media isn't even doing that either. The media did not create BLM, right? BLM chose George Floyd to, coalesce their movement behind. But that's not a creation. I mean, when you say the media, who are you talking about exactly? What media? What, MSNBC, CNN, Fox? Which media exactly? You know, the media is not a fucking, you know, monolith entity, right? So that's the first thing you got to talk about, right? And then, you know, they didn't create that. It was like this movement chose him because, like I said, he's the perfect fucking example of what's wrong with policing in this country, right? So, I don't know. Kind of wish Lex Friedman would push back a little here.
Does takes whatever tragedy and pushes it towards whatever narrative that gets more clicks and views and so on. Sure, and then politicians do the same. They use the media.
All right, well that's a good point. Yeah, if you're talking about, you know, the social media algorithms, okay, I understand that. You know, so yeah, I guess that's a valid point. People using used BLM as a way to gang the algorithm or some shit like that. But anyway,
Media that influence the media to tell a story, and
This is a simple thing I'll put. I believe that the idea of anti-Semitism and the closeness of the Holocaust is used by certain individuals in media to not take accountability for the bad things that are happening. And
what the fuck is he talking about? Let's watch that one more time. All right. Is he saying that the media, in quotes, uses anti-Semitism as a shield to ignore real life problems? Let's see. Let's listen to that one more time. All right.
do the same. They use the media, they influence the media to tell a story. And
this is a simple thing I'll put. I believe that the idea of anti-Semitism and the closeness of the Holocaust is used by certain individuals in media to not take accountability for the bad things that are happening.
Okay. So that is what he said. So they use anti-Semitism and the Holocaust to not take accountability for bad things that are happening. Like what? Like what bad things? So is he trying to say when people, for example, try to call out bad stuff that's happening, then the media will turn around and call them anti-Semitic, right? Is that what he's trying to say? I think that's what he meant by that. Okay, that's bullshit, right? But let's see how he explains that. Bet you $1 million he goes off on a big ass tangent and doesn't explain what he just said. Hey, we got a viewer, Tylasic123. How you doing? Thanks for joining, man. So let's see. Let's watch him explain himself if he can.
And what's happening is there's a new frontier, right? Meaning, like, it used to be okay.
Nope, he didn't explain himself. Why am I not surprised?
For somebody to be a billionaire. We thought about a billionaire, right? A lot of times you think of them actually kind of being out of shape and.
Dude, explain what you just said. He just said that certain people in the media, right, use anti-Semitism to distract from when bad things are happening, which the only way that makes sense is that if people in the media, certain people in the media, quote unquote, would call other people anti-Semitic, right, for pointing out bad shit that's happening in society, right? That's the only way that makes sense. Please fucking explain it, but he's not going to. He's going to go talk about some other bullshit now, because he's Kanye West and he's kind of fucking off his rocker and can't keep a coherent thought in his head. Let's go on.
Certain individuals in media to not take accountability for the bad things that are happening. And what's happening is there's a new frontier, right? Meaning like it used to be okay for somebody to be a billionaire. We thought about a billionaire, right? A lot of times you think of them actually kind of being out of shape and, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, like Onassis or something, like you thought about it a different way. Now you think about a billion, you think about Elon, you think Kim, think Ye, you think it's a new kind of billionaire. It's not just Soros is a billionaire. It's a new form of billionaire. Well,
The fuck is he talking about? So, people who are not 90 years old are billionaires? Like, we never had rich young billionaires in the past? I mean, Bill Gates doesn't ring a bell here. What the fuck is he talking about? Like what, we've never had rich people in the past before. All right, well, it doesn't make any sense. I don't think yay when I think billionaire. All right, because also, have you guys heard Kanye West is no longer a billionaire? Anyway, moving on.
well, right now, what I'm calling for the industry is I'm calling the industry out and saying like, hey, it just so happens that.
By the way, how does what he just said follow from the shit that he said before? How are those two things connected? Right? Certain people in the media use anti-Semitism and the recentness of the Holocaust in order to distract from bad stuff that's happening. He went from that to I'm a new kind of billionaire. How do those two things match? How do those things make sense? How does one of those logically follow from the other, right? I mean, this is the guy that, hundreds of thousands of people bought their fucking dumbass shoes from. I really hate those shoes. I'm glad that at least one consequence of this is that those dumb fucking shoes are going away. Of course, Adidas is probably just going to sell them under a different name. Pleasies or some shit like that. But still, why is this guy so fucking rich and famous in the first place? He's a fucking idiot. Moving on.
There's been times where I had my lawyer was Jewish, my regulator was Jewish, but like 8 people that basically would collude and talk without me were in groups saying, okay, this is what the tour is going to be. This is his next house. And they were making all these decisions and they're making all this money. And at the end, I was like, I ended my tour and I don't have the money. And it just so happens that that's the case, that what they were. But what I'm saying is, if everyone can say,
okay. So this is the fourth. He's skipping to another subject now. So the people that worked for you ripped you off, Mr. Ye? And it's because they're all Jewish that you don't know how to handle your money? What? Is that... Whose problem is that again exactly? So is he blaming Jewish people for the fact that he can't manage his finances? I mean, it doesn't seem to be making a lot of... I don't know. That's kind of the only way that makes sense, what he just said, right? But I don't want to put words into the man's mouth. Let's continue.
hey, you can't point out this fact, or we're going to say you're anti-Semitic and we're going to call you Hitler. I feel that there has to be at least 1% of safeguarding the ability to screw the artist based on saying it's anti-Semitic by pointing out that they just so happen to all be Jewish. And I don't think that's anti-Semitism. I just think that's, hey, this is another thing. Like, okay, the Kardashians.
So it's not anti-Semitic to point out that all of the people you hired are Jewish. He just said that. He hired all of these people, right? All of these people that he works with in the entertainment industry are Jewish. And that's anti-Semitic. kind of is. See, here's the thing about this, right? People are not their religions. So, if I were to give Mr. Kanye here, Mr. Ye, the benefit of the doubt, and say that, okay, he's frustrated because he's been screwed by people in the entertainment business, right? Okay, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe he is frustrated because he got ripped off by his agent and his record company screwed him, and his tour manager fucking ripped him off, and the guy that he works for, not that he works for, but, at Adidas or whatever, fucking, like, didn't pay him what he was owed, shit like that, alright? But it's not the fact that these people are Jews that did this. Okay? No, I'm 100% sure that plenty of people that work at his former talent agency, plenty of people that work at Adidas, plenty of people that worked at all of the venues that he played at, stuff like that, are all kinds of religions. Christians and Hindus and Buddhists and atheists as well, right? Why is he choosing to focus on their religion? Okay, why is that? Kanye West has never been screwed over by a Christian before? I find that hard to believe. None of his rapper friends have ever been screwed over by a Christian before. That's another thing that I think he said in an interview that he got this from fucking, what's his name, Ice Cube or whatever, was the one that sort of laid all this shit on him. I mean, none of those guys have ever been screwed over by a Christian before in their entire life. I find that extremely hard to believe. So why are they focusing in on, the religion? No, that's something that bigots do. That's something that bigots do, right? I'll give you an example. When I went to Comic-Con this past summer in San Diego, I accidentally bumped a guy's bumper when I was parking, right? This store owner guy comes out of his store, and I'm trying to be apologetic to him, and he was a raging asshole about it. An incredibly giant piece of shit, right? You know why? Because he could be. And the dude was just insulting me and fucking all of this shit. And it ended up getting into a screaming match with this guy because he got mad because I took pictures of his car. Because I didn't trust him. Because since he was such a fucking asshole, I didn't trust him to, like, not claim shit that wasn't broken on his car. So I took those pictures for my own protection. And this is what you do when you get in a car accident. You're supposed to take fucking pictures. I took pictures of the front of his car too. The inside, to make sure that his airbag wasn't, so he wasn't going to say that his airbag deployed, because that's another way that they'll milk money out of you. Shit like that, right? I did all of this stuff, and he got mad, and I basically told him to fucking bend over and kiss my flabby butt cheeks. I don't give a fuck if you don't like it. Call the insurance, And of course, he got the most, he had 2 little scratches on his bumper and a little bit of paint transfer. Of course, that ended up costing $1,000 somehow, which is going to make my insurance go up. So I know that this guy went and got the most expensive fucking thing that he could. Also charged my insurance for a rental car for shit that would take 1 day. Because he's a piece of shit. And, I think one of these days I think I'm going to wait a few months and then I'm going to, send him one of those glitter bombs or something. He also would not give me his last name and wouldn't tell me his address, but I found his address anyway because, the internet provides. I found his last name. I found out where he lives. Right? And one day I will enact some legally permissible form of petty revenge because I'm not a total fucking dick. I'm not going to ruin the guy's life, but there's a company that you can pay them and they'll send somebody a piece of shit in a box. I'm not even kidding. I think this is what I'm going to do to this guy. Shit in a box. Let me see. It is this here it is. Anonymous poop delivery. Shitexpress.com, right? I am not being paid by these people. It's this, shitexpress.com. I'm going to put this down in the thing. I think this is what I'm going to do to him. I'm going to wait maybe 5 months or so, and then I'm just going to send him a big piece of shit with a nice little card saying, "You are a giant pile of shit." Right. Maybe not that exact, because that's what I actually said to him during the argument. So maybe something, written in a much better way there. But just so I can get a little bit of petty revenge on him, because I fuck him. This guy, by the way, was Italian. Had that New Yorker Italian thing, and his last name is Italian. Do I hate all Italians because one of them was an asshole to me once? No. You know why? Because that's bigotry. That would be a bigot piece of shit who doesn't fucking think would do. Right? Would I hate all Italians if, let's say, an entire gang full of Italians fucked me over? Let's say I go to New York and the Yancey Street gang or whatever, fucking shows up and beats the shit out of me and steals my wallet. Would I hate all Italians after that? No. Why? Because the entire country of Italy and everyone who works there and everyone who has ever descended from someone who lives there is not responsible for what these 5 assholes did. No. Right? That is bigotry. Bigotry is when you blame everybody in a certain group for the actions of a small number of people in that group. Same reason when you get people that say, they don't like black people. Why? Because they're criminals. Why? One time, one of them, a black person robbed me or something. So you're going to blame every black person on earth for someone who robs you? For somebody who robbed you once? No other black person on earth is worth your love and respect because a couple of guys were assholes to you once. That's bigotry. That's what bigotry is. And like it or not, this is what Kanye West is engaging in. You could the great thing about bigotry is that you can turn it on anybody. You can apply it to anyone, right? You can be a bigot. There is no group of people on this earth who are immune to bigotry, right? There are people out there who hate black people, who hate white people, right? Who hate Latinos and Hispanics and Italians and Arabs and fucking, Indians and Pakistanis and Australians and handicapped people. There are people who fucking hate handicapped people, deaf people, blind people, right? Every kind of subgroup you can fucking think of. Furries. People who play Call of Duty. Right? It's all... You're not immune to every... You can apply that to everybody. Every single subgroup on Earth can be a victim of bigotry. And can also be the perpetrators of it. It's the symptom of racism and bigotry. It's a symptom of a small mind. It shows that you're incapable of thinking past your own personal experience. Right? And this is really makes no fucking, it's no surprise to me that somebody like Kanye that would be easily drawn into it. Someone who thinks that they're the center of the fucking universe and their shit doesn't stink would easily fall into bigotry, because obviously his experience must be reflective of everybody's experience. No. That's the major fucking difference. This is why Kanye West is not a fucking genius. Tyler Sack, how was Comic-Con? It was fucking awesome. It was great. Once I got past that shit, that pissed me off for a little bit, for the day. You don't ever like getting in a car accident, getting yelled at by some old man for, especially one who was, but I was seriously trying to be nice to the guy. I was like totally trying to be accommodating. He didn't want it. He wanted to yell at someone, so I obliged him, But the rest of Comic-Con fucking ruled. It was, damn, so many people. I don't know if you've ever been to San Diego Comic-Con. It's gigantic. There's like 500,000 people there. So I spent so much money. Oh my god. Anyway, let's move on here a little bit. How much do we got? We have about another. Well, it's only 10:30. Well, I was gonna end this out a little bit, so let's kind of fast forward. I want to move because there's a little segment here about trusting people that I want to watch. Okay.
Nature, where if you focus too much on resentment, towards
We're not focusing on it anymore. Fuck
Right,
the resentment.
right.
We're moving forward.
Right. So there's two things I think that are required for. I mean, this is how I've lived my life for great engineering. You surround yourself in your personal life by people you trust, and then in your professional life, from the engineering perspective, with a team, with an incredible team, and everything else doesn't matter. That allows you not to focus on other groups, how they're fucking you over, how they're like trying to manipulate or collude and all that kind of stuff. You focus on solutions and you find a way around all the difficult shit. That's it. If you have people in your life you can trust, that's like lifelong. You said like some people you're with for the summer, for a year. Find people you can be with.
See, it's kind of sad that this dude has to explain to Kanye West how to not be a bigot. Lantern Light, conservative talking about the Holocaust without mentioning communism challenge impossible. It, I think I would agree. I think I would. I think you've got a point there, you know. Let's move on. But yeah, it's kind of getting back to this. It's kind of embarrassing how this guy has to try to explain to Kanye West how you can not be a bigot, you know. But you think you would have learned that by now.
With for your whole life. Do you have people in your life that you trust, like really trust?
No, I trust God. At any point, a human being can, like, I could, like, if I, like, go and, like, really, you know, treat this guy like a piece of shit or do this, that, am I supposed to, you know, trust him to be loyal and stay in the situation? No, I trust people to be people, and people are flawed. And people can.
You could not treat a guy like a piece of shit. You could try that, you know. People are flawed, yes, but you still doesn't mean that you shouldn't ever trust anybody, you know. I mean, that's kind of a childish thing to think. So you can't trust people because they're flawed? Well, you got to trust somebody at some point, because you know, nobody can do everything by themselves. I mean, if you think Kanye West got rich by himself, you think he made all this money by himself, you're mistaken. No. You don't become a billionaire on your own talent and on your own hard work. You become a billionaire by, you know, the labor of others. Right? So, you know, it's just childish to me. I mean, you don't trust your family at least? You don't trust your brother, your sister, your parents, you know, your wife, you know, husband, whatever. I mean, I trust my wife, you know. I don't understand that. That sounds a little, I don't know. It sounds a little paranoid to me. Moving on.
We can have the right intentions, but it only makes sense for us to work together when our agendas align. When Kim was pulled really far
What was
to
that?
to the left,
Moving back a little bit.
you know, trust him to be loyal and stay in the situation. No, I trust people to be people, and people are flawed. And people can have the right intentions, but it only makes sense for us to work together when our agendas align. When Kim was pulled really.
So it only makes sense for us to work together when our agendas align. So when I can get what I want from somebody, then it makes sense for us to work together. Ah, okay. So it's all transactional for him. That doesn't surprise me either. That relationships will be transactional. Okay, moving on.
Far to the left, our agendas no longer, you know, aligned. So that made the marriage impossible. it aligned where it's like, oh, I could wear a red hat that can help her to get Alice Johnson out of jail because Trump's willing to do that for my wife because I was the only person in my position that stood up and said, wait a second, I like you. Because
But isn't there a deeper agenda, the human agenda of just being in love?
Oh,
Like,
he made the point that I was going to make. So let me rewind that, because I was about to say that, and then fucking Lex here actually made my point.
position that stood up and said, wait a second, I like you. Because
but isn't there a deeper agenda, the human agenda of just being in love? Like, that's just what you're talking about. Red hat is just politics, right?
I mean, the world is becoming more and more
Did you get that? Did you guys all see that? Did you guys hear what just happened there? Kanye basically said my marriage ended because our agendas didn't match anymore, which made the marriage impossible. So basically, as soon as Kim Kardashian started having ideas of her own, Kanye got rid of her because their agendas didn't match anymore. He couldn't handle, right, that her political views didn't match his, right? And then Lex Friedman there basically said, well, what about love? Don't you love your wife, right? Because when you love somebody, you can tolerate it when they have their own thoughts and ideas. Isn't that not right? It's not impossible to love someone who has a different political agenda than you. I don't know if I'd want to be married to one. But, my wife, for example, had a political disagreement with me. I wouldn't divorce her. That's a little extreme, wouldn't you say? I mean, that's the thing. Relationships are, business relationships are transactional. Personal relationships should not be transactional. Not if you want to have a good one. You know what the secret to a good marriage is, folks? Okay, I've been married, when did I get married? 2015. I've been married for 7 years, right? I've had like one argument with my wife the whole time. You know what the secret to a good marriage is? Don't be an asshole. And think about the other person before you do shit. That's the secret to a good marriage. You hungry, you pick up food on the way home, call home, find out if she wants anything. You're going to be late, working late, whatever, call home, tell her you're going to be late. You want to go out with some friends, call home, tell her you're going out with some friends. Be considerate, right? She wants to do something, you don't want to do it, compromise. Right? What is it that you guys are doing? Can you go and just enjoy yourself? She wants to see a movie, you don't want to see it, compromise. Find a movie you want to watch. Or maybe you go watch the movie she really wants to watch because she really wants to watch it. And then next time you get to choose the movie. Shit like that. Right? It's not all about you. That's the secret to a great marriage. Right? Everything is not all about you. You don't always get to choose everything. You don't always get to decide where you go out to eat. You don't always get to decide, big decisions, what kind of car you're going to buy, whatever. Right? Doesn't fucking matter. The other person has thoughts, feelings, ideas as well, and they deserve to be respected. Right? If you don't respect them, your marriage ends. And that's kind of what I've seen everybody I know who's gotten divorced. At one point or another, that's what happens. They lose respect for the other partner. And they decide, fuck it. Why am I even here anymore? Right? This person doesn't love me. Why? Because love and respect go hand in hand. Right? Kind of sounds like Kanye found that when his wife objected to all of his stupid bullshit and his anti-Semitism and shit like that, kind of decided, hey, our marriage is impossible because it's all transactional for him. And he noticed that Friedman there just tried to explain that to him, and it just went in one ear and out the other. He just watch the next shit, let's rewind it a little bit, watch what happens, see? Let's rewind it just a little bit, trusting people. Friedman here tries to explain to him what love really means. Kanye is just going to completely ignore what he says. I guarantee it.
No, I trust God.
Lewis the Hedgehog, how you doing? Thanks for joining, man. I heard Elon Musk is a Twitter overlord. Yeah, well, looks like his deal went through, and if he brings back Trump, I'm leaving Twitter. I don't give a fuck. If Musk allows Trump to come back, that's it. I won't delete my account. I'll just never post there again. You know why? Because then that'll give like a false positive to them, and they'll think they have more users than they have. Because I'll just never post there until Trump is gone. You know why? Because I refuse to participate in a media platform like Twitter, where if they're gonna allow someone to spread lies like that, like Donald Trump. You know why? Because fuck Donald Trump. So we'll see. Lantern Light, it took him being out loud about it for him to be dropped. Oh, yes. It did. For you talking about Kanye to get dropped from Twitter. Yes, it did. But, you can't kick people until they actually do something bad, right? Ty's, how do you pronounce your name, by the way? Ty Isaac? Tylasak. 1, 2, 3. Does Alex Jones even have $1 billion to pay? Nope. Alex Jones does not have $1 billion. Not at all. Which always, because we talked about that about 2 weeks ago when that shit happened. I don't even know how, speaking of that, how Alex Jones is going to pay for anything. I don't even know how those people are going to get any of that money at all. Most likely, though, that judgment is going to be appealed and will probably be reduced. I saw a thing in the news where the Sandy Hook victims were asking the judge for $1 trillion, something like $2.2 trillion, and then it's fucking impossible. That shit's not happening, But will he end up paying $900 billion? I don't know. I doubt it. Let's see. Ty Isaac. Okay, Ty Isaac. Thanks, dude. Anyway, moving on.
At any point, a human being can I could if I go and really, treat this guy like a piece of shit or do this, am I supposed to
rewinded too much?
Trust
Let's move forward
based on transactions, and that's why they're less needed the more autonomous as we come, or the world makes it less needed. I feel like.
Okay, I feel like we missed something, so I want to go back just a little bit. Hang on.
Agendas align.
Here we go. Agendas.
When Kim was pulled really far to the left, our agendas no longer, aligned. So that made the marriage impossible. It aligned where it's like, oh, I could wear a red hat. That can help her to get Alice Johnson out of jail because Trump's willing to do that for my wife because I was the only person in my position that stood up and said, wait a second, I like you. Because...
But isn't there a deeper agenda, the human agenda of just being in love? That's just politics.
Also, you shouldn't have to kiss the president's ass in order to get a pardon. That shouldn't be a thing. But anyway. All right, this is where we left off. He's trying to explain to Kanye what love is, because Kanye doesn't seem to understand what actual fucking love is. So, let's see.
You're talking about red hat is just politics, right?
I mean, the world is becoming more and more transactional every day, and actually... marriages are actually originally based on transactions, and that's why they're less needed the more autonomous as we come, or the world makes it less needed. I feel like...
So I love that. Okay, so he basically said, hey, we broke up because our agendas didn't align, right? Lex sat there and said, well, what about actual love? Tried to explain what love was. Kanye immediately turned back around and said, it's all transactional. It's like, okay... It's all transactional. So this is how he thinks of other people. He thinks of other people in the capacity of what he can get out of them. That's how he thinks about other people. So Kanye West is a selfish prick who probably doesn't have any real friends. Probably wouldn't know what a real friend is. Because you just heard it. Relationships are transactional. Have you ever had a friend out there? This is a very fucking God damn. Very objectivist view. That's kind of the objectivist view of relationships, you know, like the fucking Ayn Rand people, right? That kind of only view other people as objects to, like, you know, be exploited, right? That's kind of what this is reminding me of. This is reminding me of fucking, like, objectivism, right? I mean, have you ever seriously had someone that you just didn't get anything from and you just hung out with them just because they were cool and you liked them? You know? You ever like someone of the opposite sex that you didn't want to have sex with? You just liked them because they were friends and you were cool and you didn't, you know? I mean, have you ever had a friend that you didn't exploit in some way? Oh, this guy's my friend because he drives me around. This guy's my friend because he's rich and he buys me shit. This guy's my friend because he, you know, knows XYZ, or he knows this person, or he can gets me into this nightclub, whatever. You know, what about just a friend that you just hung out with? You know, do you do favors for people without expecting favors in return? I always try to do that. You know why I always do that? I always, whenever somebody comes and, like, and I need to buy them dinner or something, I never ask for that back. Ever. You know, I used to when I was young and a kid and kind of an asshole. But now, if I go out someplace and I buy lunch for someone, I never ever will go to that person 2 weeks later and be like, hey man, where's that $20 for that lunch that I bought you that one time? I will never fucking do that as long as I live. You know why? Because if you're not ready to offer a gift to someone, then don't. Right? You should never, I mean, this is my own personal rule. I don't want to tell anybody else how they should live. But me personally, I will never hold something over somebody ever again and say that you owe me. Right? Not a friend. I will do that to someone that I don't consider a friend. You owe me for this. You know why? Because you're not my friend. Right? Because you don't treat your friends like they're fucking, you know, resources. I have a friend named Raph who watches my house for me all the time, right? And, you know, I do occasionally go out of town and shit. And sometimes I get a little sort of like, I don't want to ask him because it's like, you know, I don't want to, like, exploit him and shit. I mean, he's always happy to do it and stuff, and that's cool. But sometimes I feel like I'm imposing a little bit. And it's like, well, you know, and I always want to make it clear to him, too. It's like, well, no, I want to actually hang out and do stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just me asking you all the time to fucking watch my house. And I feel, you know, sometimes it kind of seems like that to me. It seems like, shit, the only time I talk to this guy is when I, like, need him to watch my house for me. And I feel bad about it. And it's like, no, I always make a point to not do that to people as much as humanly possible. You know what I mean? It doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that Kanye West thinks the exact opposite of that. Maybe that's how you get rich. Maybe that's how you become a billionaire, is by just fucking using people. Right? Using people, just treating people as their resources to be used and not actual human beings. Maybe that's why he's a billionaire and I'm not. I don't know. If that's what it takes to be super rich, then fuck it. I'll be a wage slave forever. It's not worth it. Moving on.
We do need each other. I feel like we do need someone we can always, you know, count on. It's like I'm pulled away by King Koopa, which is the media, the politics, the promise, oh, we're going to keep you safe. So the reason why I get, you know, really frustrated with Kris Jenner is she says losing Rob Kardashian was the greatest mistake of her life, but she never gave Kim's hand over in marriage, because this is the bottom line. When
the fuck does that have to do with anything? But okay. Okay, moving on.
Me and Kim met, we were millionaires or whatever, right? You're telling me you just hand her hand over in marriage that your daughter's not successful? Handing your hand over in marriage too. But no, she had to still be the husband to all of her daughters. And we see what the results are consistently. So
did any of that make any sense? I don't understand a word that he just said. I don't understand that at all. Why the fuck is this whole thing moving? I just posted... Wait a minute. Alright, I'm trying to move the actual... Alright, this is select shapes. This is edit. This is the pan tool. Okay, this just pans around. Oh. Well, which one of these is the fucking move tool? I'm trying to move that freehand selection. Is it that? Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted. And I want to spin that a little bit. No, wrong one. There we go. Because that was at a weird fucking angle, so... That's what I was trying to do. See, still, I'm getting this. I'm getting this program down a little bit, right? Enter. There we go. Moving on.
That's where I get, frustrated. It's like, let that go. Let this person do what you made mistakes on. Don't make this person relive those same mistakes and then put that agenda into my daughters too.
You also notice how that had nothing to do with the fuck they were talking about? That had nothing to do whatsoever with transactional relationships or love. He just rambled on like a fucking, it's, I don't know, man. Moving on.
Is there somebody in your life close to you that you trust enough to call you out on your bullshit? We're all full of shit sometimes.
What's my bullshit?
Well, some of it I pointed out today, but I don't know you deeply enough.
Though? What was the bullshit?
Jewish media, Jewish...
That's not bullshit. The bullshit is that the Jewish media won't admit...
Your dad was right. Your dad was right. The words you used, you weren't...
said it. You're not going to make me say it 800 more times.
I don't know if it resonated because you keep...
Okay, so you notice how Lex here is pushing back a little bit, and Kanye immediately starts getting snippy with him, So through this whole interview, this is like the first time I've seen this guy actually, interrupt him. That was the first time, and you notice immediately Kanye started yelling. All right. You notice, I just wanted to point that out because I said that at the beginning. Through this entire interview, this guy, Lex, is totally respectful, and notice how fast Kanye escalates, right?
Saying the words.
Did it resonate to y'all that y'all ain't do nothing about it, and that all y'all want to do is have somebody apologize and sweep under the rug your bullshit that you've been doing the whole time? You on the same bullshit as the other people. So you're doing the same thing that the other, let's say media, because I'm not allowed to say, has done. So until somebody stands up.
Which is what, man?
Yeah, see, that's another thing when you get conspiracy theorists, right? Like this, you're doing the same thing that the other media has done, right? I guess because his last name is Friedman. So he's basically, if you don't agree, then you're a part of the conspiracy. That's what Kanye's getting at, by the way, if you haven't noticed, right?
Which is what? I'm trying to call you out in your bullshit because I hope I'm somebody you can trust.
I don't fucking trust you.
Well, you should find people in your life you can trust.
Don't tell me what I should do. I'm not one of your BLM marchers.
Listen, I'm with you on the BLM.
See that? I'm not one of your BLM marchers. Don't tell me what to do. Right? What is he telling him? He's telling him, hey, the shit you're saying is hateful and hurtful. Right? Kanye West can't handle it. Right? The first time that the guy pushes back during the entire interview, Kanye West can't handle someone pushing back on him, So I think he's got more than just chemical imbalance. Right? I think Kanye's a fucking narcissist is what I think he is. Which one of these was the move tool again? That's smart. It's that one. Okay. Seriously, just look at that, just that exchange right there. Guy says, "Hey, do you have someone, to call you out, right? When you're acting like a moron, to call you out on your bullshit." Kanye completely, the first thing he does, what's my bullshit? Denies the fact that no, he doesn't. You know why? Because he's Kanye, and he must be a genius. That's why, right? How do I crop this thing? I want to, can I just, let's see, do this, and then go up to, can I crop it? Copy, let's go to image, crop. Where the fuck is crop? Rotate, shear image. I don't want to shear it. I want to crop it. What does shear do? Shear angle? No. How do you fucking crop something? There's got to be a way to do it. Tools, view, crop. Trim to current layer. Trim to image size. Nope. Oh, okay. That was the selection. Shear image, scale to new size, offset, resize canvas. You know what they should do in things like this? They should add like a thing where you can search and find what is it? Oh wait, it's this. Okay. Let's escape. It's that. That's the crop tool. There we go. Haha. Let's undo that. Edit. Undo crop image. That looks a little, I think we need to give some more room around, wouldn't you say? Like, there. Something like that. Alright. Now we can get the crop thing out. Alright. And it looks a little squarish, don't you think? Anyway. But, yeah, I think that actually looks pretty good. So far, don't you think? Might need to go back into the Morning Star there and, clean that up a little bit. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know, man. Kanye's kind of a fucking asshole. Well, we're at 11. I think we've kind of gotten through everything. We've gotten everything we're going to get from this interview here. Let's turn this shit off. Right? Why is this important? I kind of touched on it earlier, but I think it's worth talking about again. Why is it important? It's because this guy is rich and famous, has millions upon millions of viewers, and is, wow, one leg is way bigger than the other. You notice this foot, the left foot is way bigger than the right foot. I might need to adjust that, but I'm not going to worry about that now. I could just increase the size of the other foot, but I think I'll export this to Photoshop and do it there. So, but yeah, it's because Kanye West is, like it or not, he's rich and famous. He's a content creator with millions of followers. And this will not be the end of him. We opened the stream with all the shit that happened to him, all of his deals that fell through, all that stuff. It's not like he's just going to suddenly go away, No, he'll still be around, and first off, he's going to be embraced by the right wing. Kanye will be the right wing's new golden boy. And, he's going to probably, be a guest on shows like Steven Crowder and fucking Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens and all that. He's going to be like a staple in all these things. He's probably going to be in all of their fucking stupid movies and shit like that. That kind of thing. And pretty soon he'll be back. He'll be back and give it a few years, and he'll be back to where he is, and he'll have all of his deals. He'll probably put out another record and shit like that, and, because then nobody ever really goes away, especially when you become a right-wing fucking, token figurehead, like he's becoming, Guarantee you $1 million. This is what we're already seeing it happen. We're already seeing Nazis going around and hanging out flyers and shit, putting up signs over the freeway, And that's going to become the argument. The argument's going to be like, hey, I'm not racist. Here's a black guy that believes the exact same thing I believe. Right? Because they're going to exploit him for their own uses. So that's why it's important. It's important to hold people like Kanye West, right, to a higher standard. People who have money and power and the ability to affect millions of lives should be held to a higher standard. And that doesn't matter if you're a media figure, doesn't matter if you're an actor, doesn't matter if you're a comedian, if you're a politician, if you own a company, doesn't matter, right? Everybody should be held to that standard, right? Because our society has no room for bigotry anymore. Those days are gone, you know, and they're not coming back. We won't allow it to come back. Those days where you could make off-color jokes and like, you know, treat an entire segment of the population like they're subhuman and be applauded for it. Those days are gone. You can still do that. Oh yeah, be my guest, do it. But you're not going to be shielded from the consequences like that anymore. No. Right? As, you know, this is us, right? This is us, the progressive left, the people who actually give a fuck about treating people with respect and dignity. This is us pulling the United States, pulling America into the 21st century, whether they fucking like it or not. You know, this is what essentially the culture war is. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we already won. Right? All of the Steven Crowders out there, all of the Ben Shapiros, all of the Alex Joneses and shit like that, they're all on the losing side and they know it. You know, and they stoke up fear and hate and bigotry, but in the meantime, if they get a little too, you know, if the mask slips off a little too much, this is what happens to them. And that's a good thing, you know. So, I'm not crying for Kanye at all. You know, the last stream I did on him, I kind of felt a little bit, oh, maybe he's being exploited. Maybe he, you know, maybe he needs help, right? In my last stream, that's what I said. Maybe he needs help. You know, he's off his medicine and he's got people like Candace Owens putting this shit into his head. I don't think that anymore. Not after watching this interview. That's how he treats people that try to help him. Okay. So, yeah, fuck Kanye West. Seriously, I have no fucking patience for this guy anymore. I'm glad that he lost all his fucking deals, right? You know? Because somebody like him does not deserve to have access to millions of people to spread hate and lies. He doesn't. Plus, his shoes are fucking ugly as fuck, so fuck them. Let's read some comments, and then I gotta go to sleep because it's 11 o'clock. Okay. From Lantern Light. Also, Ty Isaac, I hope his wages get garnished. Talking about Alex Jones. That is most likely what will happen to Alex Jones. He is not worth $1 billion, Alex Jones. Not even close, right? He probably has max like a couple $100 million, which is like, you know, I like how I'm saying only $100 million, right? I mean, he's rich as fuck. He's more money than I'll ever see in my entire life, but, you know, or any of us, any of you guys watching, either will ever see, all of us combined will ever have that much money. But, you know, it's not $1 billion. And he's already, you know, there's like news articles of Alex Jones squirreling away money and like transferring like assets into his wife's name and shit like that. So he's never going to be poor, you know. But they will most likely sell off his businesses and stuff like that and liquidate all of that in order to pay these people some of their money, and then he's gonna have to pay out a certain amount every year. But even still, there's still certain things they're not allowed to touch. Like if you have a pension or something like that, they're not allowed to touch that. Like the same thing happened to OJ, if you remember. Like, you know, OJ got sued by the Goldman family for fucking everything he has, but there's still certain things that they're not allowed to take from him, like his NFL pension and some other things. So Alex Jones will not be destitute living out of a cardboard box on a street corner, you know, preaching, yelling, standing on a soapbox, yelling about the fucking Jewish reptilians anytime soon. He'll still be around. But he'll have to pay basically fucking. He's gonna have to pay like fucking 85% of his income and shit for the rest of his life. So good, fuck him. Ty Isaac, if your wife had different views about politics, would you give her up? Depends on. There is a certain limit, you know. If she was a bigot, for example, I don't think I could handle that, you know. But, you know, you don't have to agree on everything 100%. You know what I mean? Like, if you know, there's certain things that are deal breakers, you know, that I would not, but that's the thing is that I never would have got married in the first place if that was the case. If my wife was, for example, a fucking white supremacist, never would have happened. Right. So, you know, I that was one thing that we dated for a little while, and I made sure that we were compatible before, you know, that question got broached. You know what I mean? Like, we lived together for a little bit to make sure that you know, we weren't going to drive each other crazy and stuff. And now, you know, and my wife is actually very compassionate. She's very compassionate. She's very, she's, you know, her family is cool too. So they're actually like better than my family, I think. Don't tell my brother or sister that. Anyway, but no, she's great. But yeah, that's the thing is that, you know, I mean, the thing is, there's no reason why you can't get along with somebody with differing political views. There's not even a reason why you can't get married to someone with differing political views. You know, look at Kellyanne Conway and George Conway. They're complete fucking opposites. They seem to be married. I don't know how healthy their marriage is, but if they're anything to go by, it can happen. It's just, you know, I just say, why would you want to, really? You know? Seriously, why would you want to? That's just what I think. Like, I wouldn't date a Republican girl, you know, if she was, like, very vocal about it and wanted to, like, bring me to, like, Trump rallies and shit. I wouldn't date her. And it doesn't matter how fucking big her tits were, I still wouldn't date her. You know what I mean? Like, you know? But there is a limit, you know? Like, for example, I see no reason why, say, someone who believes in, you know, who's anti-abortion. You know, there's no reason why you can't associate or be friends with someone who's anti-abortion, or even have a girlfriend who's anti-abortion. You know, or a boyfriend that's anti-abortion. There's no reason why I even think you couldn't marry someone has a differing view on that, or if they whatever. You know, it's all how do you get along with each other, and you know, relationships are about back and forth, mutual trust. You know, compromise and love and giving and how you express that love. How do you express the love? You give from yourself. You know, love is not transactional, right? Business is transactional. And when suddenly when you're treating your fucking spouse as a business transaction, guess what? You don't love her. Right? So, anyway. Lantern Light, she would have to had lied to me for 4 years to even get to that point, yeah. And that's another thing to keep in mind. Relationships change as well. You know, you could marry someone and then 20 years later your views change on things. And, you know, people tend to become more conservative as they get older. They just do. It's because attitudes around you change. The society changes. And things that would be considered conservative today back in 1958 were not considered conservative. You know what I mean? I mean, shit. Back then, fucking segregation was considered mainstream. You know, so that's just happens, and then people sometimes their views don't change with the times, you know, or sometimes their views go on the other way. You know, you meet somebody, they fall down the Fox News rabbit hole, and before you know it, they're sitting around fucking listening to fucking Tucker Carlson and shit, talking about how the white race is like being exterminated. You know what I mean? Like, that can happen to people too. So it's like, you know, it's kind of, you know, here's the thing, right, about that. when it comes to changing people's minds, especially your family members who may have fallen down these types of rabbit holes, and say like your father, your grandfather, something like that, older relative who may be like firmly entrenched in the Fox News, Newsmax sort of conservative like worldview, right? Kind of people that, and they're being bombarded with messages about like, oh, January 6th was a hoax and shit like that throughout the whole time, and the election was stolen and all this other crap, and the FBI planted the documents on Trump. The way you convince people like that is through the respect they have for you, right? That's how you de-radicalize somebody, right? They won't listen to what they consider to be bullshit from a random internet stranger preaching at them through a YouTube video. But they will listen to you. If you were to go to your conservative Uncle Bob or whatever and talk to him and explain to him why the things he believes are wrong, or not even that, or just explain your view. You don't even have to be confrontational about it. You just have to be, well, I believe XYZ, And the more that person respects you, the more likely they will be open to your political views. And that's how you change hearts and minds, right? You do it through, because there's very few people out there that actually listen to research, that go and will research a subject on something they hold to be a political truth, and will allow the research they find to change their minds. There's very few people that do that. More often than not, they double down. When someone is confronted with proof that the opposite of what they believe is true, they tend to double down on what they believe, especially conservatives, right? Oh, it's all the liberal media telling lies. Right. Oh, it's all big pharma telling lies. Vaccines don't work. Blah, blah, blah. Right. Oh, it's all big, industry trying to, there is no such thing as global warming. They all want us to eat bugs and live in hobbit homes, etc. Shit like that. How many times have you fucking heard that kind of thing? That's people doubling down when they're confronted with proof that the shit they believe is bullshit. Right. They're more likely to listen to you if you were to actually go to somebody and talk to them about these things. And if the more they respect you, the more likely they will be open to your message. You know why? Because subconsciously, they want you to like them. They want you to respect them. Your parents want you to love them. Your grandparents want you to love them, right? And if they feel like their political views is going to push you away, they're more likely to listen to what you got to say, And that's also, there's even stories of people like de-radicalizing Nazis and shit using that approach, becoming really good friends with them, getting them to respect you, stuff like that, and then introducing them to different pieces of, introducing them to the opposing worldview. That's how you win hearts and minds. You know what I mean? So, anyway, shit. It's fucking 11:14. I need to go to sleep. One more comment. Debt holding has no place in a friendship. Thank you so much, Lantern Light. I'm glad you agree. Lantern Light, I'm like 15 minutes behind catching up. Of course Kanye is a narcissist. He's in a constant manic episode. He considers himself a literal prophet who is communing with God. Who he is. You know what would be funny if he actually was a prophet? Wouldn't that be scary? Wouldn't the universe be... I think the universe would be a much more scary place if the ultra-religious conservatives were actually right. That they're actually, all the shit they said was actually correct. I think the universe will be way more scary than what it actually is, which is, a giant, unknowable, impersonal place where we are like, a grain of sand. Our planet, our entire galaxy, even, not just our planet, our entire galaxy is nothing compared to the vastness of the universe. We are literally a microscopic dot floating in the ocean. Compared to the size of the universe and all the other galaxies out there, the universe is so big that at the speed of light we'll never reach the edge of it. because it expands faster than we could possibly travel. You know, we'd have to invent some kind of weird ass sci-fi wormhole shit to even like get anywhere within like a human lifetime. Right? That's how big the fucking universe is. That's how small we are. Even our own galaxy, we will never, probably mankind will never be able to spread throughout the entire galaxy. We'll be extinct before that happens because it's just too big, you know. And to think that the vastness of the entire universe and any other universes beyond that is all dependent upon our tiny ass little planet and one religion that sprang up in one country from one group of people is the right one, it's ridiculously arrogant. You know, there's 0% chance of any of that shit actually being true. And if it was, I think that makes the universe a much more scary place. And I don't know. I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you guys, everybody, for joining me tonight on my unannounced stream where all I did was talk shit about Kanye West for an hour and a half. But really appreciate it. You know, I think it was it's worth talking about these things. I think, you know, because you know, Kanye West is a symptom of a much bigger problem in this country, you know. So before I go ahead and end this, I need to do my ending speeches and stuff and talk about my social medias and that kind of thing. So if you like what I do and you want to help out the channel, let me go ahead and turn on my window here. Oh, wrong one. It's that one. If you like what I do and you want to help out the channel, please check me out on my SD shop. This is my SD shop. I'll put the links down in the chat after all of this. In fact, you know what? Let me just bring this over here. There we go. Here's my SD shop. I sell prints. I sell artwork and comics and that kind of thing. Please check me out there. If you want to see more of my artwork, I got a gallery here on my DeviantArt site. All of the artwork done on the channel ends up there eventually, and then I also have Instagrams and shit, but I'll put that down after the video publishes. I have a webcomic at hawanja.com, fun for the whole stupid family. It's got ninjas, it has talking ducks, people getting punched in the face, stuff like that. And I have another YouTube channel called UCD Videos where I talk about toys and video games and that kind of thing. So please come check me out across all of my other stuff. I also have an Instagram and a Patreon, blah, blah, blah. I will put that down in the video description after the video publishes. And once again, thank you guys for joining me. Thank you, Lantern Light and Ty Isaac 123. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Lewis the Hedgehog. Great to see you as always. And everybody else who stopped in, really appreciate it. I will be back Saturday at 11. We're going to be talking about Halloween stuff this Saturday. I'm trying to do more than one stream a week. So I'm going to see next week. I'll also probably do one either Wednesday or Thursday. Some small light stream like we did tonight. And then Saturday will be like the heavy stream where I actually research stuff. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate it. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you all Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific. Thank you so much. Adios.